Hi, good morning. This is a Bitcoin morning brief. You have two co-hosts. One is a bit sleepy, he's still trying to wake up. And we're here with Jimmy today. Maybe Giacomo is going to be joining us very soon. Tone, how was your weekend? And I think you're traveling soon.
Hey guys, yeah, weekend went by really fast. Took a day off yesterday, obviously no streams, and we are back at it today, bright and early this morning. So good. Well, for some people on the West Coast, anyway.
Jimmy, how are you doing?
Well, I am doing great. I'm a little tired, came back from Toronto and all that stuff. Have a lot of stuff to do. I'm trying to make like a new class and stuff like that.
Hey, how was the Toronto workshop, man?
It was good. It was good, man. There were 8 people. I met some of the Toronto people, that are in Bitcoin, Mike in Space and Rodolfo and some others. So it was fun. A lot of polite people in Canada.
Really surprised you only had 8 people. Toronto was a huge.
My impression was that it's like an Ethereum stronghold. They're not really interested
In development. I understand that because they're in Ethereum.
Yeah.
True. Was there a good amount of female devs this time too?
There was not. There was 0 this time.
Really?
And it's because I'm a guy and I don't know how to market to women to apply for the scholarship. So if anyone has ideas on getting more female devs I have scholarships that I could give away.
Get some pictures with puppies on your website.
Yeah, I don't know how to get them to do stuff.
What?
Yeah, I don't really understand what Tone said. He doesn't know how to market to women either.
No, I don't.
But
I really don't. I do have women at every one of my workshops though, which is for trading.
yeah. So I don't know.
It was just me at yours.
Hmm?
It was only me at yours.
No, there was another girl.
Out of
There was
35?
two of you. There was 2 girls.
Okay.
What?
Out of 35 in that one.
Yeah. No. I had like 20.
All right. Well, so anyway, if you guys know, well,
Wait,
Tone's obviously not the person to ask for this.
Wait. The girl with the puppy on the show is the one that got upset at that comment.
Well, anyway, I need somebody that knows how to get women to apply to get scholarships at my seminars because I'd love to give them away. I have plenty of people willing to sponsor. It's just I can't get them to apply, and that's mostly because I'm a guy and I don't know how to market to women devs. So if you guys have ideas or suggestions or something, let me know. Because I would love to have them in my class, and I have sponsors that are willing to do sponsor these women. So help me out.
Well, as the woman on the show, maybe I'll have some ideas, but let's start with a football picture. Not quite sure why they put that one to start with, but actually, some of us girls do like football. Okay, Huobi versus Binance. Who will invest more in blockchain startups? So last month, Huobi announced plans to launch $1 billion fund, blockchain incubator. But as of now, this is just saying that jointly they've launched a 93 million blockchain investment fund. The news of this is coming just a day after Binance said that they're also thinking about an intention to invest $1 billion into crypto and blockchain startups. My honest take is that the name of this article is wrong. Very honestly, who cares? Everybody seems to be doing this. And I don't think it's a matter of who's going to do more. I think it's just the latest adding more and more into blockchain. Difference being that they're a crypto exchange, but other people in the space are too. And honestly, maybe from my take, just both Binance and Huobi are kind of trying to follow Coinbase's current strategy of diversification, expansionary, and also probably a defensive measure given their slack recently. But Tone, what did you think?
I don't know. I mean, this doesn't really make that much sense to me. I'm not a fan of Binance at all. I have a little more respect for Huobi. At least Huobi didn't print their own money. But again, it makes no sense. You guys are exchanges. The only thing you really want is more shit coins, right? Because that's what they're kind of doing. It doesn't make sense for what blockchain. I mean, again, the word blockchain is being used and misused so much. I don't know what they're gonna blow their $1 billion on. Most likely, they're just gonna invest in more ICOs and shitcoins. Like what is it other than investing in core development, like the shirt that I'm wearing? I don't know, maybe print $2 billion and solve the GitHub problem, which we're going to talk about later. Like, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they clearly have too much money. They have nothing to do with. And they're Chinese companies. They're trying to one-up each other. I don't know. Like, there's no details on this. So until I see what they're actually putting their money in, there's really no comment. So far, it's just words on paper of how much money we're making, and we don't know what to do with it.
Jimmy, what did you think?
Well, this is not a surprise. Binance just got a ton of money from launching their own coin. Huobi, I don't know exactly where they got their money, but a lot of these companies have a ton of money. And it's not just Huobi and Binance, it's EOS and Ripple and all of these other places that sold their own coin. So they have lots and lots of money. And what they end up usually doing is investing it because they now have something of a social mandate from the people that bought the coin to build out their ecosystem. And what ends up happening is that they invest in some startup and they do their own ICO, and then they have their own money, and then they have to go invest and do something with that. So they outsource the building of the ecosystem to even more people. So I mean, at a certain point, you continue this sort of shell game where everyone keeps investing in everyone else, but nobody actually builds anything. That's kind of where we are. It's a really weird situation, and I'm not optimistic that most of this stuff really does anything for anybody other than the people that are doing these ICOs. They get to rent seek basically off the goodwill of all the people that invested. It's just such a weird situation, and the money in this industry is just insane, and people are trying to get outsized returns there when really they should just be buying Bitcoin. So yeah, weird.
So Jimmy, so we made a huge mistake. So Huobi also printed their own money. Their ICO sale ended the 28th of February. I'm assuming this year. And so they also
so they're all playing shell games, right? Like they right now, if you go up to EOS and ask them for some money to build something on their platform, you could probably get some money. And
it's an ERC20 token. Leah, can you pull up my the link I just sent you?
Absolutely.
And look, like this is amazing, right? We're not a security. We're not a security. We're not an investment. This is what all the ICOs say. And then right on that website, scroll down a little bit, it told you how much their ICO token has outperformed US dollar, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. But we're not a security. We're not here to make you money. It's amazing the kind of bullshit that people like say in order to print their own money.
You didn't appreciate the rating system more? ROI high.
Well, I really wish these would trade with like actual like bills or something physical, because when you abstract it away like this, people don't realize that people are printing their own money. If you had to hold like a Huobi token or a Binance token or something like that, and someone asks you money, like good money for them, I don't think you would buy it, right? Because you'd be like, what the hell is this? It's like a Disney dollar. Why would I buy this?
So they basically printed $300 million right there. If you scroll up a little bit, 300 million of 300 million. So I guess they sold out. Scroll up. Right there.
Oh, jeez. Of course they sold out.
Yeah.
Yep, their market cap's 277 million, so doing great for everybody.
Huobi's been around since like 2013, right? I mean, if they were an exchange that made money, why are they printing their own money? Like, again, everyone wants to print their own money, whether they make revenue or not. It's all about printing your own money these days. And more and more people are buying into this idea that everyone is supposed to print their own money. And the more people do this and the more people believe in this, the worse the bubble, the bigger the massacre after.
Printing money, not just for central banks anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be the tweet. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's interesting. Obviously, both of them both have their own token. Both of them are doing a lot of moves right now. We covered Binance.
Look, and also at the top of their website, it says blockchain powered loyalty points.
Yeah.
Please show me a loyalty point system you had to like buy into.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe airline miles or something. I'm guessing that's what they wanted to sound like.
I guess, but airline miles aren't speculatively traded then after.
Right, because you need the airline's permission to like trade it or something.
And mostly airline miles, I mean, the only reason you would buy them is, let's say you have a bunch of airline miles and you're short of a milestone, so you would, buy more to just get that.
Right.
Well, and I love trying to pull up their website or anything, since the token is only traded on obviously their Huobi. Yeah. Oh, well, and of course I can't even pull it up, right? Because as they say specifically, is not available for US users currently due to the relevant government policies. They can't even trade in the United States. They're trying to expand into Brazil. I mean, it's the typical Chinese.
A huge plus for decentralization of tokens, right? Oh, but you can't hold this because you're residing in a certain area.
Naturally. All right. Well, we'll see. And again, I think that the fact that they're calling it a VC or incubator is pretty hilarious, I will say. And they're calling it a social fund, like a social impact fund as well. So, yeah. A lot of it, I think, is just PR or just expansionary or covering their asses. Sorry for cussing. You said holding, so let's go to HODL HODL. So how HODL HODL is building a real business with Bitcoin smart contracts. So HODL HODL, a multi-sig, P2P, peer-to-peer crypto exchange, and their transactions are on the Bitcoin blockchain. It's interesting to note that they only started a couple months ago, and apparently it's already taking off really fast. So personally, my take, I think their heart's in the right place. I believe that this could be really good for Bitcoin and the original Bitcoin blockchain. But as we talk about a lot, go fast and break things isn't always the right way. I think not the right way at all for Bitcoin. And it seems like they're going very fast. So Jimmy, what do you think of the story? And also, do you think there may be collateral damage or unintended consequences from their fast pace?
Yeah, I'm not sure what their innovation is. It sounds like most of it is multi-sig, and that's something.
Yeah, Jimmy, they're just using multi-sig on an exchange, so they're still a centralized exchange, but they don't hold your Bitcoin. They're just another signer of a multi-sig contract. So they're still like so you exchange through them as a middleman, but they do not hold custody of any of your Bitcoin.
I mean, that's not very different than BitGo or whatever. This article makes it sound like they brought this brand new innovation into the Bitcoin space. Well, BitGo's been doing it since like 2013. I don't really.
Yeah, kind of, but BitGo doesn't let you trade, Bitcoin for Ethereum, right? It doesn't really let you trade Bitcoin for Litecoin. So Bitcoin isn't really an exchange. Bitcoin is like Bitcoin is a way, I think, for exchanges to use a third party to help them, decentralize some of the storage so that they're not, as easily hacked. So BitGo is a multi-sig for exchanges. These guys are gonna be their own. These guys are just a multi-sig between users of their exchange, trading one currency for another.
Yeah, I hate the characterization at the top, saying that Bitcoin's taking a backseat to networks like Ethereum. No, Ethereum is more vulnerable. Nobody uses all of the Turing completeness and the exotic stuff because they're very, very difficult to secure.
That's just bad writing.
I hate that characterization, and I want to combat that as much as possible because people don't understand like the difficulty of securing a smart contract. It's very,
I think Elisa Harding wrote that article. Can you scroll up? And she should really know better. Oh no, it wasn't. Elisa Harding wrote the article. Sorry, Lisa. She wrote the next one.
Lee.
That's bad.
Yeah, I was a little confused on what they were actually up to from this article.
I don't have a problem with this. It's probably better than most exchanges today, but in a way, like it's not that easy, right? I mean, you better have one hell of a fee because like it's kind of like a gambling company. Like there was this gambling like in the early days of Bitcoin in 2013. I know because I used it. Well, early days probably from my point of view. One of the first things I ever used my Bitcoin on was to gamble on like sporting events. And there was this website. It's called like Bet365 or something like that. They no longer exist because it was kind of managed by one guy. And what he did was you didn't have logins to the website for betting. It was a website. Let's say you want to bet on a game, gives you a public key for you to put your bet in, and then if you win, you get the winnings back into the same address you sent from. And if you lose, you don't get anything back. And it was a website where you can gamble without creating a login and password. And therefore, your Bitcoin is only at risk during the duration of the bet. And I thought that was awesome because it like basically removes you holding a bunch of money on a gambling site that could be hacked or potentially steal your Bitcoin. So this way your risk is only during the duration of the game. Where he ran into a problem is I think he got sick or something and he got really, really busy and his site was becoming popular. And then there was like a bad day where like the spreads weren't so good and he lost a bunch and he didn't have enough to pay people back. So there was delays on payments because he promised to pay out in 24 hours. And then when there was one day when he like came up short on a lot of users and everyone just went apeshit on Reddit and the site kind of went away. So it's the same idea. Like on a site like that, you can kind of know that you're going to average out. So you can kind of go a little bit into, the fractional reserve area, but not like 20-1, more like 1.5-1 until you catch back up. So the only thing I worry here is, if something goes wrong, they don't exactly have, a bunch of money on deposit.
They're also saying, Jimmy, that they're trying to launch Househodl, which is in July. That's a disparate real estate platform by the same team, multi-sig contracts for banks and lawyers who typically hold funds in escrow.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's just basic multi-sig. I don't understand the innovation here, and it's been in Bitcoin since 2009. I don't understand what this is talking about.
Yeah, Tone, it looked like you had a follow-up.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, people are saying Bet365 still exists and it's not Bitcoin. I think it was BIT365. It was a play on that other name.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting. Again, yeah, I agree with you, Jimmy. Now that I understand what they're up to a little bit more, it doesn't seem like too much innovation. And again, they're going very quickly. So but Tony, you did provide some interesting points. So now we have an upcoming cryptocurrency is trialing a trio of Bitcoin tech advances. So Grin, so this is Grin. So Grin is a blockchain and cryptocurrency focused on privacy and scalability. It's also an implementation of the Mimblewimble transaction format with extensions. They're saying that their testnet has been released. That's just background on what they are, if I understood it. Jimmy, can you explain the story and what you think about what they're up to?
Yeah, so Grin has been around for a while, and a lot of devs have been excited about what Mimblewimble can do. It's basically blockchainless. You have just a UTXO set. The white paper was dropped into like an IRC by an anonymous developer. A lot of people looked at it. Andy Polstra in particular was very excited about the possibilities there. Essentially, you hide the amounts, you hide the addresses. There really aren't addresses, they're just outputs, and you have the right to spend it if you know the secret. And there's a bunch of different technologies that go into it, but they have a testnet now. Originally, I think they were thinking Grin would be a side chain of Bitcoin. I'm not sure if that's what's happening. They might just be making their own chain, but it has some really interesting privacy use cases because you have no idea how much is there and what the address is. I mean, there's no address, it's just a UTXO. So it has some really interesting scaling properties because you don't need to keep any of the history. You just you have these cut throughs, so you just keep the UTXO set. Once you spend it, it sort of disappears. I guess you can archive it if you want. So it's a really exciting project. A lot of people have been excited about it for a while. The fact that it's starting to become a reality is awesome. Yeah, I mean, how that's gonna work out. One of the nice things about Grin is that unlike Ethereum or Bitcoin Cash or all these projects that are trying to make scripting or smart contracts more complicated, which is really more ways to screw up, what Mimblewimble or what Grin is trying to do is move in the other direction. They have something called scriptless scripts. So it's a lot less complicated, a lot easier to examine, and it's what people actually use, like Bitcoin for example, with simple multi-sig, simple, like private key or something like that. And especially with Schnorr and Musig and things like that, it makes it all possible and still preserve a lot of privacy. So this is something that I'm actually excited about, and we'll see how all of this comes through.
Tone, what do you think about what Jimmy's saying? And also, this piece provides the evidence and also thought about that there's division in how the implementation would affect things. With the quote at the top by Monkey, I'm very much waiting for you guys to finish in a sea of shit coins. So they're also talking about how the exciting future is, exciting a lot of people, but also that other people who are, very much involved in the development are worried about how this will affect the future of the coins.
I don't know. I'm going to slightly go in the opposite direction of Jimmy a little bit. I also don't understand what he means by that quote at the top. But so the biggest thing that I just got from Jimmy, because the article didn't specify, and I was under the assumption that this is going to launch as a brand new proof of work coin, like a Monero, like a Litecoin, like a Max coin, like a Dogecoin, like a brand new proof of work coin with the Genesis block, with all of these, features that are supposed to be added to Bitcoin pre-built in before the launch, giving these features, a real testing environment, unlike the Bitcoin testnet, where there will be real money on the line with a brand new blockchain, brand new coin. And if it launches as a side chain, that becomes a very different discussion. If it launches as a side chain, then this is still Bitcoin with these features on a side chain. So if you want these, obscure transaction features, use the Bitcoin side chain. But then there's going to be lots of questions of where the incentive of mining the side chain versus Bitcoin, and you'll probably need a soft fork if you're going to launch a side chain, but again, that's more of a question for Jimmy. Now, under my assumption that this is going to be a brand new altcoin, I'm not. I mean, it's the only good thing about it is that it will suck up liquidity from all of the other privacy-focused coins, like the ZenCash scam and Monero, and whatever else people think has privacy, like the Verge garbage. So it'll suck up a lot of it from there. But there's no way this is going to overtake Bitcoin, right? Because especially if a coin like this sucks up liquidity from the other privacy coins and becomes the new darling of the privacy coins, it once again shows you how all of these old coins, the store of value proposition in these coins is totally fungible and migratable. And the fact that it's not easy to get these features into Bitcoin will keep Bitcoin more of a store of value. So I do not see this coin as a threat to Bitcoin at all, even if it launches with all these features, because guess what? It's like a question I asked Adam Back at some event. I forgot which conference. I think it was in Toronto, where I was doing an interview with Adam Back, and I said, hey, so are you guys over at Core even considering adding any kind of innovation, that even considering any innovation that has come out of the altcoin space. And he sarcastically thought about it for 5 seconds and said no, right? So again, all the innovation is coming out of the Bitcoin space. And if an altcoin wants to bring that on themselves a little bit ahead of time, kind of like Litecoin, took on the user-activated soft fork stuff, that's perfectly fine. It'll just mean that it's going to go into Bitcoin eventually, and it'll be even safer. But because that these guys can add all these features in, it just means that they have to do it before they launch, because after they launch, if they can add these features in so easily, then it just shows how centralized they are and how easy it is to fork.
Jimmy, response?
Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, I think the original plan was to make Mimblewimble a sidechain. Unfortunately, Drive Chains is stuck. A federated sidechain. I think somebody is working on a Mimblewimble implementation that uses some sort of a federated sidechain. We'll see where it goes. Again, it's market driven, so people will support what works for them. I'm not sure what works for them here. It would be nice if we had sort of Mimblewimble's privacy features on a Bitcoin sidechain and get like sort of 1-for-1, pegging that way, and then you get all of the same features on Bitcoin. But I don't know how that's going to happen. We'll be watching.
Great. So we have 2 stories that we're throwing into one. I'll throw up the Bitcoinist first. So they're saying, so Microsoft to buy GitHub, Bitcoin devs call for an exit. Last time I checked, it hasn't officially been announced yet, but apparently it will be announced today. So we'll definitely see with Bloomberg. But this is a big deal, I think. The Bitcoinist article is saying that Bitcoin devs are going to leave GitHub because they think Microsoft is going to screw everything up. I'm going to be a contrarian here because Microsoft kind of stopped acting like a clown in 2014. Before then, for about 10 years, a decade, they absolutely were. But since 2014 until today, the price of Microsoft, which I'm just going to throw up for 1 second because I'm the obnoxious one today, has shot straight up from $32 to $101. So I do think they're actually red hot. And this is because they're aggressively going out and making very strong purchases. They purchased LinkedIn, they purchased Skype, and perhaps this is one of them. So I have no idea what their desire is to acquire GitHub or why GitHub wants this acquisition. So I'm not sold from a business perspective that they're not epically going to screw up, but I'm also not a dev. So I'm going to throw it to the dev here. Jimmy, what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting play for them. They're clearly trying to, move into the source control space. GitHub makes a decent amount of money. If you have a repo on there, you can charge. I think their pricing is something like $7 per user for anything private. So a lot of companies just pay the $7 per month per developer, and that's a very good deal. Especially because they tend to be pretty highly available and things. More recently, they've been coming under fire because they are not scaling very well. And you see this like weird unicorn icon whenever you hit GitHub and they're not up or they're being DDoSed or something like that. I'm guessing that Microsoft is wanting to utilize GitHub on their cloud platform. They want to sort of dominate that through, forcing their acquisition to go on there. Whether Bitcoin devs should exit GitHub, that's another question entirely. A lot of developers don't trust Microsoft for a good reason. They have kind of crappy products, and they've done some pretty evil things in the past. Who knows what they're like right now, but certainly back in the 90s and early 2000s, they bundled Internet Explorer into Windows and told everybody that you can't decouple them ever. Ed Felton of Princeton, he's a professor who's also done some stuff on Bitcoin. He famously testified for the Department of Justice saying that no, you can't do that. It all seems kind of trite now since all browsers are free, but back then it was a big deal with Netscape. So there's a lot of people that don't trust Microsoft. I mean, I still don't really trust them that much, although I am running on Microsoft Windows, but mostly their Linux subsystem. Yeah, but who knows? It's hard to say. I don't like these giant companies that go on these leveraged acquisitions. I don't think they paid that much cash. They just like issued new stock. This is sort of the corporate way of printing money. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't have to like it. Whether Bitcoin will now move to GitLab or something is another question. I know a lot of projects were on GitLab. Were on GitHub, but they moved to GitLab. I've been on GitLab. It's like painfully slow, and they need to figure out their scaling stuff in order for it to be sort of at the level that GitHub was. Or is in terms of speed and things. But then again, like GitHub is kind of centralized. I'm not sure why we don't have some decentralized solution. Bitcoin was in part inspired by Git, having something kind of like a blockchain, but with merges and stuff like that, which is what Git is. I don't know why we're not setting something up that's utilizing some of the features that Git has with merging and all of this other stuff. We can probably have Vladimir host his own Git repo on some server somewhere, and as long as we do it in a decently secure way, that would probably be the way to go. So
I'm pretty sure there'll be at least 5 GitHub replacement ICO competitors by end of year.
Tone, just as a follow-up though, what did you think about the story and potential acquisition? It has, unless it happened since the show, it has not officially been announced yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's bad. I mean, Microsoft.
Wait, it's on the GitHub website. Go to github.com. I think it's, go to github.com. You'll see it.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, Microsoft is just like too big of a company.
Good
They don't.
call.
They're not gonna.
Yeah, see, Microsoft is acquiring GitHub. It's there.
Yeah, it's gonna go to crap. And it's funny, like if you pull up the Bloomberg article again and read just the title of the GitHub article.
Yeah.
It's like buying GitHub would take Microsoft back to its roots. Well, it's also gonna take GitHub back to its roots, right? Assuming it was a tree, it's pretty much gonna slowly die back to its roots. I remember how everyone loved Skype, and then the moment Microsoft bought them, it was pretty much the end of that. And I still use it occasionally, but it's terrible. So yeah, I don't think anything good will come from it. I have no idea how you can actually fully decentralize GitHub. You're right, Jimmy. It was centralized, but it was centralized but trusted. I don't know. It would be nice for core developers of Bitcoin to build something around that. Maybe this would be a good use for timestamping some of the stuff into the Bitcoin blockchain as well. A lot of your code changes that go into GitHub, utilize Peter Todd's initiatives for I already forgot the names of them.
Open timestamps.
Open timestamps. Thank you. Utilize that and try to rebuild GitHub. Let's see, maybe.
Well, Git's actually decentralized by nature. If you ever use Git as a developer, you can point to different other places, and it doesn't have to be the central repository like GitHub or GitLab or something. Yeah, that's
true.
You can actually literally connect to another developer's repo and pull their changes or whatever, as long as they give you permission. That's how it's supposed to work. It's like sort of the original thing on which Bitcoin was inspired. You have your own node and you're master of whatever it is that you're working on, and you're not sort of there's no canonical one. It's just sort of distributed, and everyone runs their own stuff. But you're free to go and take stuff from other people as long as they're willing to give it to you. and or give it to somebody else, and that's how Git is supposed to work. That's how Linus designed Git, but it's like sort of made it into the centralized thing. So maybe there's a bigger conversation around using Git as it was originally intended, which is in a decentralized context, without a single point of failure like GitHub. But I don't know. I like nobody actually uses Git in that way because GitHub's so freaking convenient. It has like Travis or Circle CI integration, so you can test all the code as soon as it's ready for merge and stuff. It has merge tools, a lot of different ways to comment on things and do code review and issue trackers. It's massively convenient and it brings a lot in addition. But honestly, it's a bit too centralized. It makes it vulnerable to stuff like this. If Microsoft wants, they can, I don't know, corrupt the binary or something, I guess. Although, we have signed binary, so I guess they can't do that unless they had access to that key. So I don't know. It is like they're not exactly the most trusted company. So there you go.
Yeah, and just to note, I mean, this is the official announcement, right? It takes a very long time for M&A to go through. So yeah, if it's like 30 to 90 days typically for due diligence. Sorry, that's my phone.
Yeah, but I've been involved on the other side of a company that gets acquired. The moment the news is announced, you kind of get bored and stop working.
Yeah, I imagine that's true. And like this is probably Microsoft's way of injecting some new talent, because
and a bunch of these people are just waiting for that buyout day so they can cash out.
Yeah.
That's what happened to my company. I mean, man, it was bad. We were like barely working on this major migration, and then like the deal finally went through. Senior management got a bunch of money, and then everybody quit. And then the company that bought us, they're like, "Holy shit, you guys didn't actually do anything."
Yeah, that's what happens with a lot of mergers, and which is why like these leveraged buyouts are really sort of anti-competitive most of the time.
It's also why you're supposed to keep it as secret as possible till the last possible day, and it's supposed to go through as quickly as possible. And the new company needs to identify which people do not want to be there, and those people need to be quickly removed in order for you to actually, move on with the product you just purchased.
Right, and just to finish with Jimmy's point, it could be an acqui-hire. And also, I think that this is a lot for PR for Microsoft, who, again, I just find it interesting, right, that Microsoft has obviously been a tech giant for a long time, yet they're definitely not in the FANG, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're buying a company that's based on the tool that Linus Torvalds wrote. I mean, I thought like getting Linux subsystem for Windows was like a big change for that company. I never would have imagined that they would have bought a company based on Git, which is Linus's project. He created it so that he can manage Linux. This is kind of crazy to me. This is really crazy.
Yeah. So everybody, there's quite a bit of time that we're gonna have to see what's going on, and if any Bitcoin devs want to step in and do some petitions against Microsoft, you have a long road.
Well,
clearly, it could do something.
And clearly, Huobi and Binance have $1 billion each to spare.
Buy the token.
Maybe they can create their own, GitHub equivalent or something.
No, I'd rather have them give the money to core developers and let them build it.
Good luck.
Yeah, that would be good. I don't know. Maybe we can raise some money and build our own thing that's got a lot better failover and things like that.
Are you guys talking about launching an ICO?
No ICO.
All right. So
I don't know. Looking at the screenshot and the advisors to the IMF, I wouldn't be surprised if ICO become globally legal in the next 3 months based on that list of
God.
Yeah, so this is just a funny one we wanted to throw up and end on, which is that we covered IMF on Friday for anyone that wasn't able to follow. The IMF deputy director, issued a statement that pretty much just extraordinarily anti-crypto, pro-blockchain, typical, but extraordinarily just like incorrect in their statements. It was very funny. They're against decentralized coins, yet think that central banks should issue their own potential centralized. It was just, it was all sorts of funniness. But now, right on the heels of that, they're showing who their advisory board is at the IMF that should be helping them understand how apparently Lagarde used to say, fight fire with fire, and fighting fire is fighting Bitcoin specifically, is what they were talking about. So yes, Chris Larson is on the advisory board. Jimmy, do you have any last statements on this one?
This is a perfect marriage. They totally belong together.
Can you magnify the image, Leah?
Yeah, they totally belong together. Ripple and IMF, it's like a wet dream come true. I mean, like this is exactly the kind of tech that the IMF would be interested in. It's a way to control the supply, be completely centralized. That's what they've been this organization's been wanting to do for the entire world for a long time. And Ripple is exactly like in the same realm, right? Like centralized currency, and they print their own money, and that's something that the IMF's been wanting to do for years. So yeah, they deserve each other, and yeah, I'll fight to the bitter end to not have something like that. I'd much rather have a decentralized currency like Bitcoin.
And Jimmy, they're definitely, everyone on this list are the blockchain experts of the world, correct?
Oh yeah, I mean Blythe Mathers, yeah, they're the blockchain, not Bitcoin. Yeah, let's see. I haven't heard of most of these people, but you could see that they're from a lot of banks or some sort of like clearinghouse or whatever. Marco Santori, that's an interesting one because he actually knows what he's talking about. But I like that's blockchain.com or blockchain.info. I don't know why they're just confusing users with like blockchain.com. Marco actually knows what he's talking about, and he's been a lawyer in the Bitcoin space for a while. But yeah, I mean, what's going on here? Like, and yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, he kind of knows what he's talking about, but the thing he's most known for was the SAFT, and that's
more recently. He's been advising Bitcoin companies on legal matters for a long time.
I know, but I'm expecting him to get into some legal trouble of his own in the near future. I wouldn't, and the same thing for Chris Larson and the whole Ripple token scam, right? Like, I mean, it's good that these guys are working all the way up to having the IMF watch their back. But I mean, I think what these people did with the creation of the Ripple token with Marco and his SAFT, I think these are like outright scams. And I mean, hey, if they're protected, same thing with Ethereum, right? I mean, no one's better to watch your back than Putin. I mean, yeah, you create a bunch of garbage and then you work your way up, right? That seems to be the model here. And I mean, let's just say if I had to pick advisors for the IMF in the blockchain space, none of these people would have been mentioned.
Yeah, and just to finish, and we'll move to your weather report, right? The IMF, the votes go towards the biggest donors being the US by far, China and Japan. And it, when you look at this list, it does not surprise me what you are seeing. And definitely it doesn't make sense to both your points that a lot of these people should be on it. BBVA, Bank Indonesia. You know, but also we'll see that the IMF, I think and thank God, are losing a lot of their importance. They talk a lot. They put out jargony reports, and they don't act on much of what they say anymore. Although governments respond, but again, just last point is that, you know, for any governments that aren't going to take their money, you know, maybe we'll say screw you to their advice as well, hopefully. But yeah.
Only in a fiat system can you get this many rent seekers like fed this way. It's so ridiculous that there are people that make money advising the IMF who really doesn't do anything. It's it's just bureaucrat after bureaucrat. It's extremely frustrating if you actually do work and, like these guys are doing pretty much nothing and getting paid for it.
Right. Weather report, Jimmy?
Yeah, so there was a spike in a bunch of transactions on Sunday, which is why you're seeing this sea of blue here. Most of those are around 1 Satoshi per byte, and from Whale Panda's tweet, I haven't checked this myself yet, but he seemed to indicate these are consolidating transactions. So you have lots and lots of little outputs that are being consolidated. So in a way, this is very good because the UTXO set.
Zappo has been mentioned, which potentially makes sense because they finally got on SegWit recently.
Yeah, so I mean, basically what they're doing is consolidating UTXO sets. So the UTXO set is the unspent transactions that has all of the Bitcoins that are available to spend. So it's always the sum of that is equivalent to whatever the total number of Bitcoins are in existence. And that's the most important part. You can keep the entire archive of all past Bitcoin transactions. That would be about 200 gigabytes. But if you just did the UTXO set, that's more like 2 or 3 gigabytes. And it's about to shrink even further because what you do is if you have many inputs and a single output, then they're consolidating, right? Like you're taking, hundreds and hundreds of bytes and putting it into 25 bytes or something like that. So that helps to make the memory requirements for running a full node smaller. It's a good thing to do. It's a wise thing to do. I applaud whatever companies are doing this because now is the time to do it, not when fees are huge. This was famously what Coinbase was doing, was doing the opposite of this. They would split transactions and make one UTXO into multiple UTXOs, even if it didn't make sense financially because they just had ancient infrastructure that they didn't know how to really upgrade. Sounds like they did some of that, but whoever's doing this, we know that most of the blockchain is filled by big companies anyway. So I have no doubt that these are mostly big companies that are doing transactions like this. That is having a little bit of an effect on the weather. You can still get in 2 Satoshi per byte probably in the next hour or so. So don't worry too much about that. You just have to increase it slightly because there's such a backlog of 1 Satoshi per byte transactions in the mempool, something like 30 gigs. I expect all of this to clear by next weekend. There's always a lot of transactions space or block space available overnight oftentimes, and it'll start clearing because there's plenty of space right now.
And even with this, Bitcoin transactions are still significantly cheaper than Bcash transactions, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, I haven't checked BCH in a while.
Yeah, there's been a lot of tweets. There's been a lot of Reddit posts how Bitcoin transactions have been cheaper than Btrash transactions for weeks now.
Oh, did not realize. Yeah, so we shall see. There's plenty of stuff to think about or whatever.
Can we also mention another 51% attack on ZenCash? Again, get out of the shitcoins, people. They're not.
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, the ZenCash got 51% attack. They actually.
I heard Mona Coin got selfish mining attacked, but that
was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and Verge Coin got 51% attacked, and Bitcoin Gold as well. And now it's ZenCash, and they actually they reorganized the history for $500,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that was a couple days ago. Tone, people are freaking out about price.
Oh, really? I haven't looked yet. I probably should. Let's see what's going on here. All right. All right. Ooh, okay. So, man, I really thought that Bitcoin had a chance to make it up to 8,000 before it started going back down again. And, this is not good at all. Shoot. So, again, this continues to play out very, very similarly to what happened in 2014. I have been making this comparison for probably over a month now, and I'll continue to do so until I see something different. So here's what happened on a similar week in history back in 2014. So we had the big red candle. We had the big down week back in August 11th of 2014. And that week broke the 50-week moving average and closed below the 50-week moving average. The following week is a pretty volatile week that took you all the way back to the 50-week moving average, closed slightly green, slightly positive for the week, and then it set off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red candles in a row. So 6 bearish weeks in a row. When that mess ended, the close the week of the 18th of August was $510. When the downside ended from that week, the close was $325 and the low was $275. So if you do the math, 275 out of 510 is about 40%, give or take. And the close was probably about 35%, give or take. So that's what we saw over the following 6 weeks. And it started off slow and then accelerated, okay? To be honest, I'm almost expecting the same. So we had our week following the big down week that broke us over the 50-week moving average. We then had a positive week that took you back into the 50-week moving average, and we're now kicking off a pretty rough week. So your line of distress becomes the prior closing lows, I guess. So the around 7,350. So I would say if the price of Bitcoin gives you a daily close below 7,400, Bitcoin will probably be in a bit of trouble. Now, as you can see, the current acceleration is taking place faster than it did back in 2014. And it's actually interesting because someone asked me to compare the current 3-day chart with the weekly chart in the past. And that didn't really make sense to me because we're falling faster now, right? So, actually, I'm sorry, that does make sense, right? We're falling faster now. So if I convert the current chart to the 3-day chart, and then I compare that, I don't know if this is the show for this. I probably should do this on a trading Bitcoin show, but I'll save it for then. Maybe I'll do a trading Bitcoin tonight or tomorrow. But it would be a good comparison to go and check out a current 3-day look of the bear market to the weekly look of the bear market in the past, because we're in that August period here in early June, and we can actually accelerate faster. So we are on a 4 of 9. So potentially this week and 5 more weeks could take us into the low. Now, I'm really curious if I can get this corner right here, the trend line, and the 49.75 bottom, which I think could be the bottom. And it looks like I have this as the week of July 2nd. So that's actually only 4 weeks away. So 4 weeks from now, it's possible we can go all the way down there. Now, I will say that the situation was weaker back in August because the 30-week moving average was also declining and crossing the 50-week moving average. And we still have the 30-week moving average hanging in there pretty high because the 30-week moving average is still grabbing the top, the $20,000 top. So, 52 weeks a year, 32 weeks, that's more than 6 months of time. So we got to get, we got to get to like August in order for the 50-week moving average to no longer count the December high, which is why the August period back in 2014 already had the 30-week moving average declining and getting close to crossing the 50. This is not the case here. In fact, it's possible for us to have the 50 declining even before the 30 because it's going to use a lot more of these points on the back end that are lower than the current price points. Let's go to the daily chart. Yeah, I really thought that the daily chart had a chance to make it to 8,000. And here's the thing, right? This is what makes trading difficult. Like I've been telling you guys, you are in a bear market. So if you're going to be a blind squirrel and are gonna take on a random trade, you want that trade to either be into cash out of Bitcoin or a short play. That's what you do as a blind squirrel without knowing how to trade. In a bear market, in a bull market, you do the opposite. So because you, if you want to actually trade, there's no way in hell I would have timed the short trade here. It would have been a stop loss hit probably already, right? Because what I would have been waiting for is a 9 3 days from now at 8,000 with a 9 on the sequential, which I didn't get, right? So there's no way I could have predicted this. When this candle started out, it was a 7. If we had done this show, probably 7 hours ago or something, or 6 hours ago, I would have said, hey, you're on a 7 of 9, it should top in 2 days. But it looks like it topped today, even though the day is not over yet. We can go all the way back up. But this is a situation where if the market isn't giving you a trade with a bunch of ducks in a row, you admit that you missed it, and you try to catch the follow through, in which case for me would be tomorrow. If tomorrow starts trading lower than today, that would be a red 2 below a red 1. And look at the last time that happened. Here is the last time a red 2 traded below a red 1 on a daily chart. That was just below the $8,000 mark. And this was an absolute perfect shorting opportunity for you traders, because not only was it a red 2 below a red 1 on the sequential, it was also the break of prior lows and the break of a trend line. So, and fallen below a moving average. So lots of things were here pointing to a short play. You don't have that in this area. You don't have that in the last 24 hours. You would have had a nice short play from the $8,000 area on the 6th of June, because it would have been 3 ducks in a row. It would have been a back test to the breakdown level of 8,000, a touch of the declining 30-day moving average, and a 9 on the sequential. But you didn't have that, so it's hard to time your short trade. And bulls were probably over leveraged, and they're going down. And the moment you get back to the $7,000 area, I expect this drop to accelerate. And once again, on this entire move down from 10,000, we have not been able to get a 9 on the downside. So at no point would I have considered the end of this bear market. Notice how the prior 2 times we came down to the lows, there was a daily 9 around early February at the 6,000. The low was 6,000, but the 9 came in at 75. There was a 9 right in the vicinity of the $6,500 low in April, along with a pair of 13s, the aggressive and the combo. But this time around, since the $10,000 top in early May, you haven't had enough momentum to the downside. The downside momentum keeps being broken with short, dead cat bounces to the upside, and it will continue to do so until we get another capitulation low, similar to what happened in early February, or enough of big down moves to give us, a couple of exhaustion 9s on the sequential, plus 13s, like what happened on the move throughout March and into early April. So we haven't had any of that. It's been a pretty damn steady, slow grind down. And I think at some point it has to, accelerate with, monster panics probably from those that went big in the $6,000 area both times. I think both of these players, if they're not willing to hold into the next halving, both of these players that have bought all this Bitcoin on the prior two $6,000 areas, all of these people are going to panic. So the price of Bitcoin from 6,000 to 5,000 can probably go down in 24 to 48 hours once all of these people actually panic. This is how markets bottom. Don't blame me. It's not going to do what I expect it to do. It can do absolutely anything, but that's how markets actually bottom. Not because you think Bitcoin is the best technology. The price of Bitcoin is still all speculators driven. Here's the 12-hour chart. So the 12-hour chart did make it to its prior point of resistance and its prior point of breakdown, because I had that red line there for a reason. Obviously, I haven't fudged with it, so it's still there. Look at this red line. It touches prior support points and prior significant closes and prior significant breakdowns. Again, it's kind of unfortunate that that you didn't get your 9 up here. It got broken by one candle. So this was almost a 7, 8, and 9, but you didn't get that. And you did run into the prior level of resistance. And the 12-hour is giving you a 2, trading below a 1. So if you're using the 12-hour chart to trade, the sequential system is telling you to potentially go short. I really thought Bitcoin might have had the mustard to make it back to the top of this symmetric triangle. But if we get back to the bottom of the symmetric triangle, again, that's telling me that Bitcoin is even weaker than I thought it was. And I think Bitcoin price is pretty weak and vulnerable right now. So let's see what happens going forward. Here's the 4-hour chart. Did the 4-hour chart give you anything worth trading? And not really, to be honest with you. Again, I see nothing on the sequential. The RSI had a little more room to go overbought. The MACD eventually flipped over. The CMF was actually looking pretty damn strong. It started to weaken throughout the consolidation a little bit. So that was a little bit of a clue. And the OBV is still at pretty low area. So again, it was another trade to the downside that started. When did it start? It started at pretty much soon after midnight UTC time. I think I'm on UTC time here. I am. And this trade would have been difficult to time, other than, if you are a trader of the sequential, you had a red 2 trading below a red 1, but it happened back here as well yesterday, and then it went higher. So again, the lower the time frame, the more you got to be careful with a single indicator as your guide. The 1-hour chart is starting to look pretty weak. You've just fallen out of the cloud. Your CMF is going negative. Your OBV is going down. Plenty of downside. I see nothing here that would have let you time your trade either. This is one of those trades that's very hard to time. But remember, like I said, like in our show with Tyler, Leah, you were there for that, where I said in a bear market, you don't want to be long. You wanna time the short plays if you can, or if you happen to make some money on a dead cat bounce to the upside, you want to keep a really, really tight trigger. NASDAQ?
Yes.
Let's go take a look. I got too many tabs open. I don't know where NASDAQ is anymore. Is that the NASDAQ?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
All-time high.
Yeah, we're on not yet. Almost. We'll get there though. We're at an all-time high close when it closes in 2 hours. But hey, you're on an 8-13. So 9's coming. A weekly 9 is coming next week. So be a little careful here with the NASDAQ. And it might have just exhausted itself. So I would definitely look for a bit of a correction on the weekly NASDAQ, let's take a look at the daily NASDAQ. Also on an 8. Wow, look at that. Your daily NASDAQ is on an 8. Your weekly NASDAQ is on an 8. So, yeah, I would look for tomorrow's only Tuesday, though. You still have a whole other week. Like, you can actually make it one more 9 and stay within a weekly 9 because you still have 5 days next week, and then it can bleed into the following week before reversing. So I would be a little bit careful with the NASDAQ even as of tomorrow, but keep in mind it'll probably exhaust itself sometime next week, if not tomorrow. So again, I would wait for weakness before actually pulling out. But yeah, you know what? I've been so busy and lazy. I've been talking about moving all of my retirement money back into the market, and I haven't gotten around to it. It's all kind of sitting in cash. And earnings season is coming up in July, so I don't know if I'm actually going to do that. The S&P is still weak, though. Yeah, the S&P needs to break that 2760 area, and I think it will. I do think it will. I didn't see anything going on in gold, and what is this? The silver, nothing. Long-term silver, not looking good, and still silver. Gold ratio, gold. Hey, gold is on an 8 to the downside. It's gonna be a little hard to get a 9 because it needs to close below. To get a 9, it needs to close below 1291. I mean, it's possible. It's only a couple of bucks off. Yeah, gold isn't looking too hot either, but gold could be due for a little bounce. All right, snuck in a little traditional markets there for you guys. Oh, I actually have to refresh my website. Hey guys, I think I'm gonna cancel Berlin for July. I'm gonna do Berlin in September. I'm gonna cut my trip to Europe in July short, if at all. Yeah, hold on a second here. I want to open up a new website. Tonebase.com. Yeah, so Berlin is being moved to September 22nd. But I think only one person signed up, so I'll take care of that. So it wasn't not a lot of people were signed up. And Spain, I'll do Spain the week before. So Spain, September 15th. Barcelona or Madrid. Maybe another candidate will come up. I haven't decided where yet. Yeah, those are definite. Vegas, not yet. Still working on that. But the others are gonna happen. Dublin this Saturday, London Saturday after, and then Montreal Saturday after that. Okay, and there'll be other things on the schedule. I think I'm adding. There'll be Amsterdam as well, and Prague, and Bangkok. I don't know when yet, but sometime in October. So there you go. So those are my workshops. So go ahead, check out tonebase.com. Jimmy, where are you off to next?
I am going to Sao Paulo next week. I'm actually going to have to email out those people. Trying to figure out how to do it safely. I'm a little bit freaked out, just a tiny bit, because of all the stuff going on there. But I already committed, so we'll go there. After Sao Paulo is Denver in July. Please sign up for that if you want the if you want the early bird rate. And after that will be San Francisco, which hopefully is going to be interesting. There are scholarships available. Please apply. You just go to programmingblockchain.com and you can look for it there.
Awesome. Tone, don't you have a cruise before that date in Spain?
Oh yeah, I do. That's right. The blockchain cruise. Wait, where is the website? Yeah, I got Jimmy, have you decided?
I don't think I'm gonna go. I don't know. It's probably not gonna go, but
I'm absolutely gonna go.
Leah's going. Giacomo's going. Yeah, this is the cruise. Barcelona to Monte Carlo, to Ibiza, and then we're gonna spend the whole day on Ibiza, probably speaking on the beach. Some of us. And yeah, so check this out. The agenda is already coming out. What's the speaker list? I think they have to update that. I'm not sure. Leo, you got to get your picture in there.
Absolutely. That's going to be so funny. A little gambling in Monte Carlo.
But yeah, I actually wonder if they're going to rent out the entire cruise or just a part of it, because I did the same. I did the blockchain cruise Asia, and the cruise had about 2,000 to 3,000 people, and like 500 to 600 were like blockchain people or something like that. But I don't know if they're big enough now to rent out the entire cruise ship.
I doubt it. I mean, cruise ships can take thousands of people, even, I don't know.
Right, but Consensus could have sold out 2 cruise ships, right?
Yeah, could have. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they could. Yeah, I mean, that's a giant moneymaker.
Yeah, it also depends on the size of the cruise, right? If you pick the smallest cruise, it fits like 2,000 people. I mean, it's doable.
Yeah, it's doable. I don't know. I mean,
honestly, I don't want there to be only blockchain people. Like, it's
you know,
there's no place to get away. It was kind of good. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna go find a corner of the pool somewhere.
You guys had an interesting write-up, if you remember it. It was like, wow, like Bitcoin's tanking, Bitcoin bros partying on the beach. There's some funny press about it.
Yeah, and it was like, and I think it was Bloomberg is like, and some guy was walking around the beach with a buy the dip shirt. Like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I just don't want to. Yeah, a lot of this stuff can get a little bit crazy. I don't know if I want to be around crazy right now.
No way. Ibiza and Monte Carlo with
and John McAfee. What can
probably
go wrong?
McAfee back. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, there were. I don't know. Like Tone, you remember that BitMEX party thing? I'm glad I wasn't there. Totally not my scene.
Not bad.
Well, I kept hearing things about what it's supposed to be. I'm like, that's not me. And yeah,
Wasn't
I'm glad
it
I
in the
didn't
box?
Yeah, it was at the box.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay.
Not my scene. Not my scene.
No, not mine either. All right. Well, on that, we will sign off. Jimmy?
This song is done.
Done.
Oh, wait, I wasn't screen sharing the cruise thing. I'm an idiot. Or I was.
No, you weren't.
Oh, I wasn't.
I thought you were just like reading off.
I was. But for some reason, I thought I was screen sharing. Here it is.
Okay.
Here's the website. It's coinsbank.com. The one that here's the little itinerary, and here's the agenda, and yeah, the one I was already on was Blockchain Cruise Asia.
Oh wow.
But, Tone, can I put a bet out here? Can you? I'll think about what the bet will be, or live chat can. But if you DJ on Ibiza.
Oh, you know, oh God.
Think about the other side, or people can put out suggestions. But
I can't. I haven't pirated a song in like 6 years. I don't have any music anymore.
Okay.
You haven't pirated a song in 6 years. There's your quote.
See what happens? See what blockchain does to you?
It makes you go all legit or something. I know.
I know.
Or it just purposely made sure that we don't have to listen to Tone's music. Just kidding. Hopefully we heard in Ibiza. Okay. With this Coinsbank little video running, everybody have a great day.
Bye, guys. Oh, wait.
Good luck trading. You're supposed to say good luck trading. All right, there you go.
These shows keep going longer and longer.
It's still live.